Welcome everyone to another Bright Investor Office Hours. For those of us who are new to office hours, welcome. This is a time twice a week on Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings that I myself, Donato Callahan, CEO of Bright Investor, make myself available to help each and every one of you either analyze deals, analyze markets, hear your feedback on Bright Investor and what we can improve or what new features or different upgrades you'd like to see happen and or give me your insights on what you are using BrightInvestor for and help us make a better platform. So this hour is designed to be open forum. Ask any question. We have a nice little community here, average anywhere from 10 to 15 people a week usually, or every single session. This is a time to ask questions of me, but also get to know the other people inside this group and see how we can make sure that everyone is moving forward, especially as we go into the new year, kicking butt in real estate. For everyone that is a returner, thank you for being here so much. Really appreciate it. I always love to see you guys' faces or see all your names on a black screen and white text. Always love seeing that. It's my favorite. And looking forward to seeing you guys and looking forward to answering any questions. So, without further ado, with any questions that you guys have available for you, feel free to unmute yourself and we'll get started.
Hey, Donato, I do have a question, but I am finishing up taking care of some dishes, so do definitely remind me. And I also got the phone going at the same time, so a lot going on in the background. But if so if anybody else has any questions, definitely feel free. But definitely do try to give me a ping or a heads up a little bit later before we hop off. So definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Not a problem.
So I had a question about for you. How did
Yeah.
you learn about seller finance and how how did you start it? And
Oh,
maybe your first
okay.
deal?
Yeah. I can go through the story. So I went to college at Boise State University, so out in Idaho, and I went for civil engineering. And at the end of my freshman year of college, I was looking for ways to not pay for school. So I went to and I swear there's a point to this. But I went to the library and went to the computer and typed in how to not pay for college and found a bunch of scholarships. And I found one that was called the Department of Defense SMART Scholarship. If any of you guys have kids that are in high school or going to college, you guys should look it up. SMART scholarship. But essentially, anyone from undergraduate students all the way through doctoral candidates could apply. And if you won, they would give you a full ride to school, pay you 30 grand a year to go to school in cash, pay for your insurance, pay you a grand a week over the summer to intern in Washington, D.C., and then you get a job and you graduate. So clearly, thousands of people apply for this thing every year. I threw my hat in the ring, ended up winning in the end of my freshman year. I was one of three in the country, and I used that money and worked during college to save up cash and just put cash away and put cash away and put cash away. And so I got to my sophomore year of college and knew that as long as I kept it B average, I was going to keep my scholarship. And I needed to, I was going to get a good job when I graduated working for the government. And I had achieved what my parents wanted me to achieve. And it felt exceptionally empty. I don't know if anyone in here has ever felt that feeling, but I'm going to be straight up everybody here. Um, so I started looking for things that I could do. And traveled a bit. Went to South Africa, went to London, went to Montana, hiked, and then got to my junior year of college and wanted to be more in control of my wealth building journey, and that became real estate. So I got a job with a real estate property management company, and then I started working in joined a paid mentorship group, and that paid mentorship group became learning how to do wholesaling, learning how to find and source deals, how to run numbers, and that became everyone telling me that my first deal should be a house hack. So that house hack then became that mentality then became when I was a senior in college, I went to a bank in St. Louis and I said, I'm a year away from buying a property, but I want you to pre-approve me. They said, no, makes sense. So I went to a realtor And I said, I'm a year away from buying a property, but I want you to send me up an MLS feed of properties. And so every time that a new property come on the market, they would send it to us, and I'd underwrite it and tell them what I liked about it, what I didn't. And then I was just learning how to source deals. So I was by day working for a property management company and on their maintenance side. So I learned how to go into a property, how to deal with tenants. I learned how to do texting and dialing and direct mailing, how to manage a CRM, what to look for in properties, basic rehab costs. Until I bought my first house hack the day I turned 22. And so that turned into I didn't have a job at that point in time. That came from the pre-approval letter for a job I was going to get, and started working that way. So I did a wholesale deal. I did a 4 unit house hack. Then 6 months later, I bought a 172 unit building. And then 8 months ago, I bought another 200 unit building. And I'm working on a couple more right now. And I just got equity in another 300 units 3 weeks ago. So that's kind of how I started and the route that I took. And seller financing came about, all the creative strategies came about through the different paid mentorship groups that I was in, and networking with a lot of other investors, going to events, masterminds, and meeting people who all they do is seller finance and asking them questions and picking things up. Because ultimately, I didn't know how to do a house hack until I did one. Didn't know how to do commercial until I did one. Didn't know how to do any of this stuff until I did one. And the answers are all out there. So it just became a lot of asking of questions. So in a roundabout way, I hope that kind of answered your question in a very transparent, here's exactly the process that I took.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, congrats. I can't imagine the work you put in to win that. Yeah, it was a fun time. Uh writing a lot of essays to do that. I had a professor, I asked for a letter of recommendation, and she said, I don't do that, but you can write a letter of recommendation and I'll sign it. That's too much work for me. And I went, okay. Everyone in here, you best believe I took every advantage that I could. I wrote myself a glowing review. You would have thought I was the second coming by the end of that essay. Oh my gosh. Donato Callahan is the best student I've seen in my 35 years of being an engineering professor. If you don't take him, the global security and our national defense will suffer as a result of your choice. Oh my gosh. I went crazy. She signed it. She submitted it. Absolutely. If you get a blank check, you put as many zeros as you can. And it worked. So that was one of like 3 essays and 3 letters of recommendation I had to get. So that wasn't the only thing. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that went that way. Did she read it before signing? I think so. She didn't provide me any feedback. She just signed. She said this time's fine. So I'm assuming she read it. She was that kind of more like inner more detail focused. Um, and she didn't have a problem with it. At that point, I was working in her lab too, so we had a good relationship. But I think she read it. But that's the kind of thing you got to get scrappy, right? Um, one key component that I would recommend, and I tell people this all the time, is talk to 10 people who are doing what you want to do who have been doing it for 10 years. So by the time that you start, you have 100 years of wisdom right out the gate. So when I went to get commercial real estate, I found 10 people who had all been doing commercial real estate, and I asked them, what do you like about your industry? What do you hate about your industry? What do you hate doing about it? What do you wish someone could do for you? What's the biggest benefit? And then eventually people were telling me, Donato, I hate having to do market research and finding deals. I bet I can build a platform to help people do that. And here's BrightInvestor. And that's how I got my first property taken care of. So it's all doable. In the chat here. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Jason, 10 people in your market or just people doing the same thing? Just people doing the same thing. This folks, 10 people doing what you want to do for 10 years straight, right? So if you really want to be burring, okay, great. Are there any people that have been doing burrs for 10 years that we can go talk to? Great. Ask their opinion. Where if they can go back and do it all over again, where would they start? Because it's amazing once you start talking to people who've been successful in this industry, everybody wants to tell you what not to do. It's really, really valuable because, success leaves clues, but failure leaves landmines. People love to tell you where things blew up in front of them. And so they'll go back and tell you, don't do this, or don't do this, or don't do this, and make sure you do these things. And they just give you the roadmap for success. And that's literally all I've done. I'm not special. I'm not some person that just had it all figured out day one. I talked to a bunch of people who all said, Donato, you should do this path. And I went, okay. And I just did that because enough people had made the mistakes and had seen the benefits of it. So that's the route that I went. Sorry, I'm in the tub. Tweaked my back earlier. No camera. No problem, Jason. Well, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate it. No problem. But yeah, so that's how I got started. Um, and I found it's yeah, been about oh geez, 3.5 years now since I bought my first property, but about 4.5 years since I've been in real estate. And to be clear, I ran a wholesaling company my entire senior year of college that completely failed. Did not work. I did a lot of mail, calling, direct text, all the stuff. Probably dumped 25 grand in cash into trying to start wholesaling. Couldn't figure it out, couldn't do it. Now, had I known more, I probably would have been more successful with it. I had times when I got properties under contract. I had one that was going to make me $25,000 assignment fee until my very first contract. And a woman that was selling me the property. You know, we were about 30 days away from closing, and she asked me for my address, so I gave it to her, and I got a letter in the mail from her lawyer saying that I was illegal, what I was doing was wrong, that she wanted to leave the contract. Now, my personal opinion of that situation is one, either somebody offered her more than I did, and she wanted out, even though she signed it, or B, the adult son that had been living in and I'm not going to say the word like just kind of like sitting in the property, but not squatting, but her adult son who had been living there and not paying rent probably talked her into not putting it out the street. So I had a choice to make. Do I push the contract through and force her to sell and make her son go out in the street, which is probably the best thing for him to get his life in order, or do I let her out and lose $25,000 assignment fee? And I chose to let her out and not push her through. This is what I thought was the right thing to do. And so that led me to my next thing and my next thing and my next thing. Santiago, when do you plan to add in the future to rental comps filter out results? Like it's actually coming out. It's actually done. Santiago, great question. That feature's actually done. It's been developed. It's sitting on our test server. So when we develop things for BrightInvestor, there's the version that you guys see, and then there's something called staging. Staging is where our developer team sends all their upgrades, and it sits on the server, and our team tests it to make sure it works well. So that feature is actually done, and it's sitting on staging, ready for us to do our production push that I think happens Friday. So fingers crossed that there's no other issues that come up with that product. And it should be out on Friday. Actually, our team right now, watching them, they're taking all these issues and they're tweaking, doing the last minute bug fixes for that. And Santiago, I want to say thank you for all the feedback you've given the team. Sincerely, really, really appreciate it. Drew's let me know that you've given us a lot of awesome suggestions. Let's see here. Chester, almost like a sandbox, exactly like a sandbox. So right now I have over 25 things you guys have asked for that the team's currently working on just in a row. And so they have to work on all these different pieces, and then we put it in the sandbox. And then we go in, we try to play with it and find as many things as we can possibly find. And then we send it to our production or live server. And then you guys get it. And then inevitably, no matter how many hours of testing I put into it, you guys always find something that's like, oh, Donato, this one thing, when you click it this one way, doesn't work. And I go, okay. And I bash my head against a wall. And then I go and we fix that. Every single time. Doesn't matter. Every single time.
It always happens
Uh,
like that, right?
absolutely. It always goes that way. So I've got 3 versions worth of upgrades that we're moving forward with right now. Um,
Hmm.
Jason, have you done any 50, 40, 10 deals? I'm thinking of it for a property I'm looking at. So when you say 50, 40, 10, what do you mean by that? 'Cause I don't recognize that kind of deal specifically from the name 50, 40, 10.
So basically 90% LTV. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, you'll probably explain it better than me. Go ahead.
No, it's so like we have within the one rental at a time community, we have like a couple of guys. One of them now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Velocity Mortgage. Stephen Dow. I almost said Jason Dow. Stephen Dow. And so he works with Velocity Mortgage Capital, and he walks over something called a combined 90-10 CLTV or 90-10 combined loan to value. And the way it works is the bank or financing institution, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a bank, will have or put up 50% of the loan value, and then the seller will essentially front the 40%. It doesn't have to necessarily be 40%, but that's traditionally like the easiest way in terms of like quote unquote clean and simple numbers. So like the bank will do 50, the seller will basically carry the 40% of that note, and you're basically gonna work or negotiate with that seller. Hey, like, let's do 1% interest or 2% interest or something like that, so that you're basically customizing the blended rate overall. So let's say the bank is like,
Oh,
hey, we'll do 50%
okay,
at 8% or whatever the prevailing rate, let's say it's 7%.
sure.
And then you get 40% from, or basically let's call it, an effective loan from the seller for
Yeah.
40% of the value. And let's say you do it at like 1%. So, you end up with a blended rate. I don't know what the exact number is. I'm gonna just come up with something like 4.5% overall.
Sure.
And then you still bring the 10% to closing.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So have I done the deal like that? No, but I'm made a lot of offers, something like that. So basically, it's a traditional carryback, right? So
Yeah,
instead of getting a
basically.
full LTV, yeah. So I've done that on the commercial side, made offers like that. For example, we had like a $17 million deal where we were going to get a bank loan for about 55% LTV, and that would have been right around just about $9 million, $10 million. And then the seller was going to hold back about 3 million of that. And so we had to come to the table with 4 million. So very similar thing. Bank was going to give us a rate of about 6.1. Seller was going to give us a rate of maybe about 4, or like the high threes, low 4. So we have a blended rate of 5%. Yeah, so it's basically a first and second position loan where you don't have a full seller finance deal, you don't have a full LTV deal. Can be definitely useful to help cover like larger down payments. So like if your 10% isn't enough to give the seller what they need, right? You can say, hey, look, I have this loan. It helps pay the seller off a bit, gives them some cash. Yeah, so makes total sense. I have not done one in the way that that typical split looks, but makes total sense. If it works, it's
So
great.
one quick question to that, and I don't know, Jason, please stop me if I was about to steal your thunder on this one. Do you know, is there a way where within the um like a combination of like with the seller motivation where it won't be just purely 100% seller finance like we were talking about, or like if they would be trying to think like things like say for example like retired landlord or tired landlord, I said retired, tired landlord, or things where somebody is like, hey, I still would like the benefit of getting cash flow but not necessarily the headache of dealing with the day-to-day management.
Like a way to filter for those kinds of people.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, there's the traditional ones like your tired landlord, but things like, I don't know of a way to be able to like more reliably search, or maybe, and maybe it's just, if they're open to a conversation about seller financing, maybe then they're also open to the possibility of the, we'll call it the 50-40-10, something like that. Maybe it's just looking at it
Yeah,
that way.
I would say that way because if someone's open to seller financing or a conversation, the most immediate rejection they're going to have is that they want you to have skin in the game, and they're going to tell you
Hmm.
that they need to have there's either a mortgage they have to pay off, or they need a certain amount of equity out of the building so they can go do X, Y, or Z. So doing a deal like you're describing, a 50-40-10 deal, the fact that you're getting a 50% loan against the property allows you to come in and, let's say your property is going to be $200,000, you're getting a $100,000 cash injection you're giving directly to the seller, right? In that case. So now you automatically are giving them a cash infusion, plus you're bringing your own 10% down. If anything, if you would start with, hey, give me 100% seller finance, and they say no, okay, great. How about a 50-40-10? Like, well, what does that look like? Well, actually, I'm gonna get a loan for half the property's values. I can pay you 100 grand on a $200,000 property. Plus, I want to put 10% of my own money into the deal. All I ask is that you carry back 40% at this rate. That is a
Yeah.
huge negotiating tool. Absolutely, to be able to say, you know what, that makes total sense. I'm not open to just the straight full seller financing, but that mixed situation does make a lot more sense. So absolutely. If someone's open to seller financing in any capacity, they definitely be open to a 50-40-10. There's less risk for them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that, no, that definitely makes sense. And like I said, Jason, if that, was your question, I apologize, but,
That's part of kind of the reason to do it is he's older and he just wants money. He wants to get out of it and he wants some money.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of putting two different offers in. One offer,
Yeah.
here's what you're going to get, which is less. But if you want to do seller financing, you can get closer to what you're asking. But here's how we're going to do it. That was my thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did the same thing for those like 7 or 8 properties I talked about in our last session. An update for those. I went and toured one of those properties. It was disgusting. For one of those seller finance deals. I walked in. Everyone here, the realities of going to these properties. I should have taken a photo. I walked in and there was probably up to my like mid thigh gas station, takeout, and like rotting food containers. This entire apartment.
oh
The
man.
bathroom had a hole in the ceiling that was falling out. And when the people above that unit walked through the property, dust would fall from the ceiling because it wasn't secure or stable. Definitely mice in there. Dead birds in the basement. This thing was roof was leaking through, like it would rain in the very bottom basement units to get water inside. And then the guy, when I was in there, the guy was like looking. We went in there, and the unit was occupied illegally because that unit would not count for when past inspection. And the guy was like, "Yeah, they really need to fix that hole." Surrounded by all of his trash inside the apartment, he's like, "Yeah, they're letting this place go. You got to fix that hole, man. I don't know what to tell you." And I'm like, "Buddy, what are we talking about right now?"
Oh man.
I have another one where the guy said he wasn't open to doing a full seller finance, but he's willing to give me a $35,000 discount on a conventional offer from 225 to 190. So that always helps. So even if they don't take seller financing, they're open to a much, get myself a nice little 15 to 20% discount. The other ones I'm still waiting back on. So the saga continues.
Yeah, and then
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So how would you analyze it on the calculator, a seller finance deal?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks.
I'll showcase that. I'll showcase how I'm doing right now, and then how eventually we're gonna have my goal is to put out a legit seller finance calculator where I hope is be able to do you can say like first position loan, second position loan for that specific kind of situation that Jason's talking about, where you guys have like a certain portion of the loan that's still there, and you're gonna do like another portion seller financed. But let's go ahead and showcase how I was doing that for this one.
And then Donato, really quick, as you're pulling that up, I saw Jason said he had a property that he wanted to look at, and then I do as well. So
great.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I think this is the right one. I can never tell. Is this right?
Hey, Donato, you got a quick second, same similar question along seller finance?
Yeah, what's up?
What's the exit plan on that, right? Because when you seller finance, they say you might give them a bulk amount of money and then 10 years of payments directly to them. But then at the end of those 10 years or whatever case, you still have a huge lump sum of money that you still owe them. You know, a balloon payment, theoretically, they got to pay them. What's the exit plan at that point? Are you just hoping that the interest rates will be better by that time?
Yeah, so what we're doing there is what we're looking for is something that is to be that's why we use balloons. Oh, this is a retail shop. Whoops. Okay. So on a typical seller finance deal, what I'm looking for, and I'll put those terms in the chat. I'm going to offer somebody a 30-year term and a 30-year amortization. So this is similar to what we would get if we went to a specific bank, right? To be able to get a typical loan, which basically means, right, if I have a, $300,000 loan, I amortize it over 30 years. That means that I'm going to pay off a portion of that loan every single month for 30 years straight. So I'm going to give this person that's my term, that's my loan. Then I'm going to give them a 15-year balloon. Now, 15-year balloon simply states that at 15-year mark, or however many years in that you choose to do your balloon, I owe that person the rest of the capital. So whatever amount of money has not been paid down, I have to pay. So the reason, ideally, we want no balloon, right? That means that we could just have this thing for 30 years, no problem. We pay the person off. Most of the time, people want some type of balloon to get some equity out. So what do? What's one of the reasons that we like to buy properties in highly appreciating areas? Because with your 15-year balloon, your goal is to pay down your note from the seller at the same time that the property is appreciating, so that after 15 years, you can go to a bank and get a refinance done and use that bank proceeds to pay off the balance that you owe the seller at that 15-year balloon. So, an example, if you have a seller finance at really easy numbers and they're going to give you a $100,000 note on that property, and that means that over 30 years, maybe I'm just make it really easy, right? Let's say there's 0% interest. You get a great deal, it's $100,000, 0% interest. Over 15 years, you've paid down $50,000 of that note. And now instead of being worth $100,000, the property is now worth, we'll say, after 15 years of appreciation, we'll say it's worth $150,000. So I have a $150,000 property for 15 years and a $50,000 note. You can now go to the bank and let's say you get a loan for 50% LTV, that's $75,000. So you take that $75,000, you pay off the 50 grand you owe the seller, you put that other 25K in your pocket, and now you have the property that you own, no seller finance involved, only 50% levered, so you have 50% equity in it, and you got an extra 25 grand in equity sitting in your pocket that you can now use to buy another property. So that's what our typical plan is. We're doing for some of these things. So we're basically planning to refi at balloon. So of course, the reason that wouldn't work is if you have a low appreciating area, that's going to be hard to do. Or if you're paying too much in interest. So you know how banks will oftentimes front load all the interest payments for your mortgage, like the first 5 years of your mortgage, you're just paying interest.
Right.
In a seller finance deal, we don't have to do that. It's like so Santiago, you're seller financing one of your deals. I say, hey, look, my payment to you, I'm not saying, I'm gonna I don't have to make it complicated. I can just say, hey, Santiago, you're gonna leave me $100,000 note at 2% interest every single month. I'm gonna pay you $1,000. $950 of that is going to principal, $50 is going to interest. So in my negotiation with you, I can just say, hey, look, I'm gonna pay you, but all that money is going to principal, not interest. Completely negotiable. And so we make sure that our proceeds are going towards that loan pay down. That's going to be huge in helping you build that buffer up. The second part, again, that appreciation is making sure that we have the market working for us in that area to be able to do what we need to get done as far as refinancing. My ultimate goal is I can get a loan that's going to be 50, 60, 70% LTV, and that's going to be enough to cover whatever I owe the seller at that point in time. The other thing people do is that they're doing flips. If anybody in here is doing a flip or some type of BRRRR, oftentimes you'll see people say, hey, look, I need to do this spur or this flip. I only plan to own this property for 1 year. If you can seller finance, $100,000 to me, and I'll pay you interest only for the next, 12 months, and I'll give you a 2-year balloon. That was a way that some people allow them reduce the amount of capital they need to bring to a flip or a short-term project, but they give a really short balloon. That way, the person feels confident that, hey, this person's going to buy it for me. They're going to fix it up. They're going to go sell it and flip it. And I know I'm going to make money back in 2 years. So you can use balloons to kind of anchor the risk, whether you're doing a long-term rental or a short-term project. Does that help answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was gold, man. Thanks.
Absolutely. I feel good about myself when I can answer these questions for you guys. So please keep them coming. It's a nice boost. All right. What was the property name? Someone had a property. Jason?
Yeah, Jason and I
Jester?
did. Jason, you have yours already?
Yeah, it's 7111 South.
Okay.
7111. Yeah. So Ebert, EBERHART.
Okay, I'm gonna need that one more time.
Yeah.
EEB?
EBERHART.
Kind of like Eberhard or Eberhard.
Oh, okay, in Chicago?
Yes, that's it.
All right, let's do it. Okie dokie.
So there's a lot of weirdness to this.
Okay, I always love that. Off the cuff. Okay, we're gonna call this Jason's deal. Okay, give me some notes about this. That's why I love using the sticky note feature for this exact reason. Okay.
He's asking $450 for it. It's been on the market for like 105 days. 3 of the current tenants have leases until August. One of them is expired in like 2 months. It's a 4-unit, all 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
I did look at the property. It looks like each one probably needs about $5,000 worth of work. It needs a new roof. He's going to credit for the roof. That's basically it. The tenant,
Okay.
their current rent is $1,000 each. It's a family. That's why the rents never went up. They're each paying $1,000 a piece. They're worth $1,600 easy each.
Wow.
That's why
Wow.
I'm thinking it might be worth it to take a loss for a year, get it all done, and it'll be a cash cow.
Really. Okay. That's attractive. I like that. Okay,
Real
let's
quick,
break it
Jason.
down.
Like $66,000 on top of it to do the updates, the losses of rent. If I figured it all out right, I did it so many times, so many different ways at different prices. It's just a ton of different ways. I gave BrightInvestor quite the workout.
Jason,
Sure.
one thing I wanted to ask about, in terms of, do you not necessarily say like, of course, not knowing anything about the tenants right now, but would you think about potentially trying doing the binder strategy on them, or do you think
Yes,
it's
if
just
they
more?
want to stay, for sure, but if they're going to get a pretty big bump, I mean, they're at 1,000. I have to go at least. I figured the numbers at like 15. Even the Section 8 numbers on this property is actually like 1,780. So I figured 1,600 is easy, but I ran the numbers at 15. If they wanted to stay, I'd be fine with it. I walked all their apartments. They keep them clean. They seem like nice people. As far as I know, they pay on time because it's family.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm seeing some pretty solid. Okay. All right, let's run this. Okay. So we want to see what we do in a seller finance, right?
If you can, yes, that would be. He doesn't
Yeah,
want to
okay.
finance. That's why I was thinking the 50, 40, 10.
Yeah, so okay. Okay.
And then just more curious than anything while you're getting started, I know this is something that, it sounds like it's going to be a little while in the making, but do you think in terms of like a release that this might be something like, January or February timeframe, that it may be potentially something, or is it just kind of like, when the team is able to kind of get around to it.
For what?
For adding the I don't know
Seller
if you want
finance
to call it.
calculator?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Let's see here. That should all be done by the end of the year.
Really?
I might be able to sneak this in the like towards the beginning of January.
Oh, nice.
I could probably sneak it in before the beginning of January. Uh, 'Cause I've got three, you can't see what I'm saying, but I got three sections of BrightInvestor that have all come from these meetings that I've got like all slated in a row. Um, but I can probably get that early mid-January.
Oh,
So let's take
nice.
a look at this overall, right? On a $450,000 purchase price, if we were to negotiate a 0% down deal, right? So we have a full loan for 450, and let's say we negotiate a 4% interest rate and a 30-year term. You have some level of closing costs, and we're estimating a $65,000 rehab on this project.
Yeah.
Now, I'm being a little bit more conservative, saying we're going to estimate that each monthly rent's going to be about $1,500. So at full occupancy, this property is going to be at $6,000 a month in gross rents. We're paying about $365 a month in water, sewer, trash. Our monthly mortgage payment is going to be $2,100. We're going to pay, I'm estimating, I just threw my number in there, $5,000 a year for our annual insurance, a little bit less. And our current taxes are about $2,230. So, assuming that we have them pay for our electric and gas, right? And assuming that we still keep 7% for repairs, 7% for vacancy, 5% for capex, and another 10% for management, this seller finance deal off 71K up front in cash would net you $1,100 a month or a 20% cash on cash return. That's fantastic. It's a great cash on cash return. Now, it gets even sweeter when we realize the fact that if you're renovating all these units, the likelihood of you needing to do a lot of repairs and capex goes down. So you can probably cut this number down to about 3% for each of these. Our cash flow goes up to $1,500 a month, which is even better.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on a total gross level, the fact that we're not actually paying for repairs, vacancy, or capex, we're just putting that money aside. Your actual gross, let's say, okay, not gross, your gross bottom line would be $2,300 a month in cash flow, which would be pretty fantastic. And that still accounts for a 10% management fee, unless you were to manage it yourself, which the fact that
I
you're there locally,
Yep, I do self-manage.
and you're almost at $3,000. So that's pretty sexy. That's really sexy. So for me, I can see this this property could virtually be 50% vacant, and you'd still at least break even on something like this, right? That makes a ton of sense. For me, I love those margins. I love what we're looking at. It makes a ton of sense for me, right? I like that. So let's say that we're going to do a 50-40-10 deal, right? And let's say instead we're going to get we're doing geez. In this case, right now, how I do this, we're technically getting levered at 90%. So we're doing a 10% down payment. And then let's say that the interest rate you get from the bank is going to be at 8%, and you negotiate that he's going to give you a loan at 4%. Our blended rate is going to be 6%. And all things considered, we're basically 90% levered at a blended six rate. Our gross cash flow goes to 2,600. Putting these numbers into where I would actually feel comfortable with us making an offer, right?
Mhm.
I see us going to about 1825 in net monthly cash flow. So your property could be basically 75% occupied and still breaking even for you, which is great. Only thing is that extra 10% definitely boosts to our upfront costs. We're now going to shell out an extra, shelling out $116,000 in cash to do this deal. But the cash on cash return is phenomenal, right? You're going to make over $20,000 in your first year in cash flow once the property is stabilized.
Yes.
So I really, really like that.
So you don't
as
see
an
a problem
opportunity.
with it sucking and costing me money the first year, essentially. I don't. Fine. It's in my head.
Yeah, and I would say it for each person is in a very is different situation. So for this is like, you know what, if that's completely fine to you,
I can
based
afford,
on the numbers that I'm seeing, I think it can make sense. So a 450 price could work. Now, I'm gonna get a little greedy here because, why
if
not?
I do conventional, I'm gonna offer them 4.
Oh yeah, because wait, if you go conventional, how much down payment would you be required?
25.
Yeah, okay. See, that makes a lot of sense. 5%, and at what kind of interest rate?
7,
8%?
7.8.
0.8. Yeah. Yeah, our cash on cash just halved.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, look at that. Now we're selling out extra 70 grand. So in this case, you're gonna do 400.
Hmm.
It's better. Our cash on cash, our out of pocket costs are still pretty high. Our cash on cash went up by 3%. We're definitely getting a better cap rate on this deal. And you're still getting you're getting over $2,000 a month in net cash flow here. So yeah, I like that. The only difference right here is, do you want to expend $171,000 in your first year, or would you rather expend, say, at our blended 6%, $116,000,
If
right?
he would
So
take that, I
just
would much rather do that. But I don't know if he's big on.
yeah,
I asked my realtor, if he's interested at all. He said no. I want the money. It sounds like he needs the money.
okay. So one question I'd ask him is, hey, what do you use the money for? Is it loan payoff? If there's a situation where I can get you the cash you need to pay off a loan and to, maybe get you the cash you need to, say, do something like, fund a college down payment, fund another house, etc. It'd be great. And
I
then
think
that
he's
way,
really
instead of having
old
you, he's really old. Okay. Really old.
because I met his
Okay.
brother and some of his family, and they were all really old.
Okay. So he's probably thinking, I got to cash out and put it in my sarcophagus with me because I have to go to the next lifetime. Okay.
Certainly possible.
Um, It's very possible. Or he's gifting it, right? There could be someone in the family that he's trying to give this cash to. Um, he may not feel like he's going to be someone's going to be around for a long enough time to make this work. Hmm. So what we could do, I don't like doing balloons that fast though, because the only thing that could work initially in my mind is doing a shorter balloon where the money's due. But at that from you, like if he were to say, hey, look, seller finance me the deal, but if you did a 50-40-10, you had to refinance at a point in time. And if he's okay, let's write a potential offer here. Let's do it. So let's do offer one, 450K, and looks like he put a loan on this about 20 years ago. 450K, where he seller finances, we'll say, 90% on a 30-year term and balloon. And you're going to and that's going to be a 15-year term, sorry, and amortization with a 15-year balloon. So in that situation, you are coming out of pocket. We'll do a 4% interest. We'll do 4.5 interest rate. In that situation, you are coming out of pocket $116,000. That's your out-of-pocket cost.
Good.
So 116K.
Sorry, the out-of-pocket cost is to maintain the property, to do the fixing of the place,
Yeah, so that includes the down payment.
payment.
That includes the closing costs. And that includes his pre-rent rehab, primarily, and then to get the property done. So this guy is basically receiving $45,000, right? So he's getting 116K out of pocket and approximately 45K to seller. The second offer, 400K, and that would be yep, okay, 400K. This is going to be conventional. So we know this for you is going to be 25% down, and it's going to be 7.8% interest. Because at those numbers, 400K at 25% down and 7.8% interest, you're now out $171,000, and you're going to cash out about $2,100 a month. So you're out 171K out of pocket. So that's the second offer. A third offer, let's go ahead and do that 50-40-10 situation. So we're going to get a 50%. We'll do offer for, let's run the numbers on this. Let's do an offer for 425K, 50, 40, 10, where the seller finance is, so the seller finance section would be approximately, we're going to do a 4% interest rate, 30-year AM and term with a, let's say, 15-year balloon. That's the seller finance portion. So what that does for him is that gets you your 10% down, right, of $42,000 plus another 50% down. That means cash to seller is going to be approximately 260K. So he gets 260K to seller now to pay off whatever he wants to pay, maybe a golden Lamborghini, who knows. And the conventional loan that you're going to get is going to be approximately 50% LTV at market rate, 7.8% interest. And that's going to be a 30-year AM and term. So you have a total blended rate of 6%. So in that situation, on our deal analyzer, $425,000, you are going to be levered. Technically, your down payment is going to be 10%. You have a blended rate of 6. And so now you have monthly cash flow of 1960, but your out-of-pocket costs are now only 113,000. So all three have similar cash flows, and each of them solve a different problem.
Yeah, I think he'd be interested in the offer 3 because he's getting a good chunk of change right off the bat.
And exactly. So that's why you've heard of this concept of like anchoring, like price anchoring, or you tell someone something they really don't want right up front, and they say, okay, great. Well, I can't do that, but we can do this. And I go, oh, okay, well, that's so, hey, give me your property for 0% down, 0% interest. Absolutely not. Well, you know what? You're totally right. That's a bad deal. But why don't we do this? I'm gonna go get a loan from the bank for 50% loan to value. I'm gonna give you 10% down payment, and you just carry the last 40%. So that means at closing, Mr. Seller, you're gonna walk away with $260,000 of this property, more than enough to pay off any remaining mortgage payments and make sure you can go, throw a quinceanera. I don't know, whatever he wants to do. Go do that thing. The benefit to me is that I'm still getting a conventional loan. I'm still getting putting 10% down. It just lets me get a little bit lower interest rate on that other section of the property. Plus, it reduces my out-of-pocket costs for this property by a significant margin because I'm going to spend about $60,000 renovating this property up. So I'm going to take this offer. I can get you paid the cash you need. Helps me out. Helps them get. I still have a conventional loan on this, and then when I'm done with the property, right over time, I'll put a 15-year balloon on this. So no matter what, I have to refinance or pay you out or your inheritor at the end of that 15-year period.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Got it. Okay.
One of the other things to think about too, Jason, in terms of pitching that offer is after
Love
the
hot pink on
seller
this.
pays off hot pink.
Hot pink.
After the seller pays off the remaining mortgage balance, whatever's left, I believe they still have to pay taxes on it. So that's one of the things you want to also pitch as an advantage in terms of, hey, doing a 50-40-10 like this, you won't have to pay taxes on the entire amount. If you do the seller finance portion, he'll still get the money, but it won't be that massive tax hit all at once.
That's a very good point.
The huge point, because now otherwise, hey, you're gonna if we give you the whole thing, Mr. Seller, you're instead of paying taxes on $260,000, you're paying taxes on $450,000 or more, right? So what we're going to do is save you the tax and pay you out over time as a portion of debt, right? And break that and spread that burn out. Absolutely.
But
And
you're only
Chris,
delaying that, right? Sorry, you're only delaying the tax portion, right? You're just deferring that over smaller payments.
Right.
essentially,
It's
yeah, correct. So it's breaking it up. And so
Yeah.
some people, like if you invest in a syndication, you have a passive loss. My passive losses in 2024 might not be enough to cover $450,000 windfall from selling a property. It might be enough to cover 260 grand. And then moving forward, if I'm doing enough tax strategy to where I can cover the taxes that I'm going to have to pay on those monthly payments moving forward, I go from having to get a huge tax bill to the IRS to I can cover the income. Now I can go ahead and cover the income forever, making this virtually tax-free just by spreading it out over time. Absolutely. So Jason, I created a report for you with those offers. I put it in the chat. Let me know if you get that. It's right there. You can open the link.
Thank you very much.
You got it. But I like it. I also really like this deal as a crusher on the 1% rule, right? So at $6,000 in gross rents and you're buying it for $450, I do think this is a solid deal, regardless of whatever strategy you do choose to use. So, just because I'm curious, I am going to look at days on market in this area because I don't know how long properties have been taken to sell here. You said this one's been on the market for 105 days.
Not long unless there's stuff wrong with them, like majorly
Okay.
wrong. But
And that's where your rehab. Yeah, about. Oh, by the way, this data got updated, guys. We're up to November right now. It's yesterday, so 47 days right now. Yeah, so this thing's been in the market for twice as long as most properties are. That's good to know. And the majority of properties in this area, as far as what they're worth, let's see, what is this area worth usually? Is the question. Wow, look at that appreciation. Jason, buddy, that's just crusher. So the median house here is worth about 250, 260 on the residential side. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it is a 4-unit, right? There are multiple units here overall. But that is you can't really argue with that, guys. I mean, 12% year-over-year appreciation is just fantastic. I mean, look
I'm
at that.
surprised it's that high.
That's crushing. That's crushing. I want to point out, you see this period of time between 2021 all the way up to about mid-2023, home prices really weren't doing anything. And then a year ago, boom, demand has started coming right back up. That's really interesting. So for me,
I bought my last one.
yeah, this makes me more comfortable with having shorter balloon, right? Because this area is proving that it has historical growth both pre, during, and post COVID, and post high interest rate environment, right? That's what I like to see here. Now, of course, I'm not going to look at a property and not analyze the area. Come on, you guys know me. Population declined a little bit. Don't love that. Let me go ahead and check my rents for a rent growth for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in this area. Rents are up 20% since 2021. Okay. They've been stabilizing right around that 1,600 number. Jason, nicely done.
Yeah.
Okay. This is our rent cast data. So definitely going up in this area, which I really like to see. So rents are trending up. And income in this area, definitely trending up. Beats my rule of thumb of 15% of about 21.5, almost 22%, which is great. $1,600 rents are a little bit on the expensive side. For the most of the income in this area, we're getting a little more expensive by about 15-20%.
Mhm.
That's one thing to consider. Plus, you said they're 3-bedroom units.
Yeah, the off
Okay, so that's big units. That'll definitely be attractive. We can definitely get some younger folks who are looking to split rents in here. Does make me wonder how many multifamilies are in this area. Is it a ton? Oh, wow.
should be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, take notes. If you want multifamily, that's what your chart should look like. Right there. That's a lot of multifamily. 50% of the market is between 2 and 10 units. That's fantastic.
I think a big reason why the rents are covered is because the majority of this area is Section 8. So Section 8's
Okay.
paying it.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay. Schools. I got some good looking schools nearby too. You got 5, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Some good, decent schools nearby too. That's awesome. Love to see that. Okay, any charter schools nearby? Yeah, some more five. Yeah, some solid looking schools. Great. Okay. Look, I'm gonna check out my businesses. Just how essentially located is it? Where are the restaurants nearby? All over. It's Chicago. Restaurants are everywhere, but they're all on this south side. Okay. Where are my cafes and coffee shops? Okay. Where are my grocery stores? Oh, a lot of stuff up there. Okay. Where are my medical centers? That's pretty. It's pretty centrally located. Now, clearly, there's a lot of stuff going on over here. But there's some
Yeah.
medical centers. There's some coffee shops. It's pretty close by. I see there's a major street over here, West 79th, that has a lot of stuff going on. Love that. Always gonna do the infamous crime check.
That's going to be a little
Whatever we
rough.
have.
Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, so right down here, my eye is immediately drawn to this hot pocket down here on
I don't
79th.
invest that way for that
Okay,
reason.
that's good. That's good. I'm seeing a lot of violent assaults on this side, but your property is actually a little quiet zone.
It's a little pocket. That's why I go
Yeah,
there.
I like it, right? I like that I can see that, right? I can see that without even being there. So I'm going to go a little bit further back in time, go a little bit further back in time to see if that stays true. Yeah, look at all that fun crime. Yeah, buddy. But even so, guys, this stays true, right? Oh, like, that's a lot of crime. That's a lot of fights. That's a lot. Oh, arson. Last month, gotta love arson. Who doesn't love arson? Yeah, this is still relatively a quieter spot. You know, we had 2 weapon law violations in November. Not bad. Relatively quieter street. So, now, granted, it's Chicago. I'm saying that out loud. It is Chicago, but definitely a quieter pocket that I'm seeing in this area than other spots.
Yes.
I like that. So, yeah, I think that if that helps, I think that works. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for doing all this. That helps a lot.
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. All righty. We are at top of the hour. Let's see here. You guys will be, as always, watch out for emails announcing our new version. Um, sneak peek, we'll be doing a webinar in early to mid-January announcing all the new features and all the fun stuff that's coming out as well. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Chester, if you want to email me the report or property you want to look at, I can make that a priority for Saturday. We can start with that one. If that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Perfect. And unless there are any last minute questions, guys, we'll make sure this recording gets sent out to everyone here. Hope is valuable. I like doing these. And of course, feel free to bring friends, property managers, investors, agents that you think would get value from this. I know you guys get the link. Only BrightInvestor members get access to this link, but you can of course share it with the people that you feel like it would benefit from it the most.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Thank
All right,
Alright.
guys. I will see you on Saturday morning for our next session. And as a heads up, I think after not next week, but the following week after Christmas, we're going to take 2 weeks of time off for Christmas and New Year's for doing these. Spend time with families. But then we'll start back up again in the new year. So we will be here this next Saturday. I believe we'll be here this next Wednesday and the following Saturday. And then we'll take a break until the new year starts up.
Okay, so would that be the 4th or that following Wednesday? What is that, the 8th?
Yeah, I believe that we will be. So the last session is going to be the 21st, and I believe we will start up again on the 8th.
Okay, cool.
1, 2, yeah, it should be the 8th. Getting people, yeah, that'd be the first. Like get people to get back to work on the Monday, the 6th and the 7th, and then we back at it on the 8th after that week. But we still got 4 sessions left till then. So thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. And of course, thanks for being Bright Investors. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Thanks, Donato.
Thank
Thanks,
You got it,
everybody.
guys. Absolutely. Bye.